this moment I want to create some controllers to manipulate the start and the end joints of that spline, so I can manipulate this a little more easily and not having to rely on selecting just joints. And for doing that, I'm going to create a polygonal object that I'm going to use as a template for me to create a controller that will fit his body. So I'm going to just very quickly generate here an object that sort of looks like what my character's shape is, and this I'm going to use is a tool for me to draw on. So right now I have this sort of like an under body component, and I'm going to simply go and draw on this object. So I'm gonna go and, as we've done before, create with the curves tool, open it up, make sure that the curve degree is 1, and I'm going to just to hold my V key to snap the vertex points to the corners of that object, and draw all around it in a single it's just try, so that I can continue holding V. I can have a single curve object to be used as a manipulator or controller for that spline. There it is. I just went around and created that. Now I can delete the vertex, the polygonal object, and I have this one here. I'm actually just fine tune a tiny bit more so that I can change its proportions, so it's a little more appropriate to what my character design is. And I'm going to select this object. I'm going to freeze transformations, delete history, and make sure that the pivot point for it is on in the center of it. It's actually is located on not the center, but holding V, snap it to the joint that it's going to be attached to, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to bring it up to that joint that is going to be connected to, in this case, is the spine joint. And of course, being up there, I'm going to freeze transformations again and modify its proportions to fit the design of my character. The idea is that I can create something that is easy for me to select from any angle when I'm working with this character. Okay, so I can just make a little bit skinnier down here. There we go. So I got my two controllers there, and I'm going to with this ones, I'm going to make sure there are frozen transformations, yes, and the pivot point has to be corrected to where they need to be, and they actually belong to where they is. And just delete history one more time. And now, in order for us to control, use these controllers, attach them to the objects that we have for that spline, we are going to actually rename them, and this one is going to be called hip. Over we call it root control, and this one is going to be called shoulder control. And now there is one important thing for us to pay attention to, and that is the way this object is going to rotate, for us to have an easier way to rotate in it. And what happens is that sometimes we face ourselves having issues with the way rotations happen, and normally when you do the selection tool, objects come with the orientation axis to the object, and when we work with them, it works in a nice way, and they keep the rotation correctly. But many times happens that object, when they get to do twist around all over the place, things get a little bit more complicated, and sometimes you find snapping and weird behavior, and that is because there is something called the gimbal orientation, in which rotations happen in sort of kind of individually. And you see, for example, if I'm rotating on the y-axis, you see the x going along with the y, but the z doesn't follow, and that makes things a little bit harder for us to manipulate. In this case, for example, if I rotate the z, the x go, and I'm sorry, the y and the z go, but not the x. Anyway, so in order to have a better way of working with this and avoiding the any issues of snapping, we want to modify the way this this object is being controlled. And there is something under the root control that we can try to work with, and every object has this, and it is the rotation order. So right now we have the rotation order x, y, z, being z not analyzed and being avoided. So we're going to change the order of this to z, x, y, and that way we are going to have z being analyzed after the y, and after the x, and after this the y. So that way, when you rotate, they're going to rotate a little more consistently. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to start with z, x, y. This is the way things are rotated, so that we have a little bit better of, now that for example, if I rotate this one, you see in gimbal mode, the z gets rotated with the x in a better way because the z is now analyzed as part of it. Still, the other one doesn't do it, but it's a matter of preference how you want to do it. In this case, this one seems to be a little bit better. And I'm going to be doing the same orientation for the two joints. So I'm going to make this sure that this one is using the z, x, y. I'm sorry, let me just click on the right joint. Yes, z, x, y, and this one is make sure that it's z, x, y. So both are all joints and controllers are on the same system. Make sure that this guy is back to 0, probably got moved by accident. And then this guy is back to 0, yes. And now I'm going to generate a connection between this object and the joint. And for that, I'm just going to simply go generate a parent constraint, just full constraint, and then say apply, and then between this guy and the shoulder and the end spline joint, I'm going to apply there. So now if I go and manipulate with this guy, I can get some nice curvature or some movement, and at the same time, this guy can do some interesting movement there without having for me to go and do some weird looking for the joints to move on. One disadvantage of our controllers is although they generate rotation on the X and the Z, it cannot rotate on the Y, or it tries, but it really does not generate the rotation that we want. And that is because the spline is not set up yet to twist along the axis. So in order to modify that, we need to make sure that we select the spline, and we're going to open up the attributator for it, and we're going to open up the IK solver attributes, and we're going to scroll down there, and there is this advanced twist controls. We're going to enable them. When we enable them, the thing gets all messed up, but we're going to have a way to control it. So what we're going to do here in this case is we're going to say, okay, we want to start first identifying the world app type, meaning you want to tell what is the actual app and the along direction of the scene or this spline. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to use it in this system in which object rotation up to the start and end, and that makes it not prettier, but I am going to connect. I have not done it already here, but I'm going to do it again just to show you. So I am going to connect into the spline controller there. On my first option, I'm going to put the name of the first start join. In this case is this one. So I'm going to copy that name, and I'm going to back to my spline and then paste it there in that section. And then I'm going to do the same for the end join. I'm going to copy the name and I'm going to paste it in the second object so that Maya will know that the IK handle, the first object is the one join, start join, and the second object the end join, and that is going to generate the along value. So we just want to clarify what that means. So if we think of it as we have a chain going along the along value, and from that we are going to also identify something else. I'm going to click back here on my IK handle, and also there's going to be the up axis, and the along and the apps are different. Along, of course, is along the chain, and up is either the direction back or forth depending on how you have your scene set up. So if you remember, originally we had our object or our character set up so that the Y, when we selected and we activated the for the joins, let me just click on one join here just so we can see it. These joins, we had the local rotation to have the value of the Y set up actually pointing back, and I think is that what it is in this case. Let's see, let me just show the other one too. Transform display, local rotation action is pointing back, so the up value is going in that direction. So that is the up value right now. So I'm gonna just go and select on my IK handle one more time, and we're going to determine what is the up value of this thing. And in this case, I'm going to say, okay, the up axis is going to be the negative of that, because I don't want it to be pointing where the up is. I want it to be pointing backwards so that I can get rid of all this twisting. So I'm going to say, okay, this one is a negative Y to turn it around. And the other thing is that I want of course the forward axis is the X, because it's the along value is going in forward in X, so which is, you see the X there, so it makes sense now that the IK spline is following that order, and it seems to be working better, but I'm gonna double check how that works. So this guy rotates correctly now. I see the hip rotating along, and I want to verify if this guy does it too. And this guy, I tried doing it, but it does not work quite yet. And the reason for that is also something related to the way the ordering is happening here. So the up value for this vector is -1, and for the first one is -1, so meaning this one, right? And for this other one seems to be different. So I'm going to, if I try putting the value here, and this one would be probably the opposite on -z. See how that works. So I'll see -1 there, and I'm going to try rotating it down, and I'm going to just rotate it that way. So you may want to try on yours until it works. So if you're not totally sure if it is -z, you can try on the other ones until you find out which one does the job for you. Right now I have a character that can be moved, using the IK controller, backwards and forward, and can be rotated, and it can be moved on the shoulders with some limitations. We still have to figure out a little bit of the additional information for it to stretch and to be able to generate this. We also have some additional controls needed to be created for the rest of the body, but for now we're going to just stop it there. Increment and save, and see you in the next video.